Her hands trembled as the lawyer read the words that would change her life forever. To claim your inheritance, you must survive 30 days in the old Harrow mansion with no money, no contact, and no help. Fail, and you get nothing. The air in the room thickened with cruel laughter from her cousins and greedy uncles, their eyes gleaming with smug certainty that she would never last. After all, the Harrow mansion wasn't just abandoned yet, it was infamous. Locals whispered about screams in the night, windows that rattled when there was no wind, and shadows that moved when no one was there. For Elena, her grandmother's beloved youngest granddaughter, the will felt like a punishment. She remembered her grandmother as warm, loving, and wise. Why would she set such a harsh trial? With no choice, Elena accepted. That very night, she stood before the towering iron gates of the mansion, heart pounding. The house loomed against the moonlight, its cracked windows like empty eyes, its doors groaning with secrets. The first few days were brutal. The mansion was freezing, and the silence pressed down on her like a weight. She had no food, no light except for a flickering lantern she found in a closet, and no bed other than a moth-eaten mattress. Hunger gnawed at her, and fear of the dark halls stole her sleep. Her relatives had mocked her as she walked through those gates as she'll come crawling back in a week. Their words echoed in her mind. On this fifth night, when exhaustion and hunger nearly broke her spirit, she stumbled into the library. Dust choked the air, and cobwebs hung like curtains. She lit her lantern and noticed something odd. Her grandmother's portrait hung slightly crooked, unlike the others. Behind it, hidden in the wall, was a small wooden box. Inside lay an old, folded map and a note in her grandmother's handwriting. My dearest Elena, this house is not your prison. It is your inheritance. Every scar on these walls, every secret in these rooms, is a piece of our family's story. Survive, yes, but more than that, discover. What you need has been left for you. Trust the map. Trust yourself. From that moment, the mansion transformed from a place of torment into a labyrinth of discovery. The map guided her to hidden compartments, forgotten pantries stocked with old but still sealed canned food, and passages that led to warmth and shelter. Each discovery was like a whisper from her grandmother, telling her she was not alone. But the challenges didn't vanish. Nights brought storms that shook the old foundation. One evening, as rain hammered the roof, Elena heard footsteps in the hall. She clutched a broken chair leg for protection, only to find that the intruder was a stray dog that had found its way inside. Starving and trembling, the animal mirrored her own struggle. She shared what little food she had, and from then on, the doga whom she named Asha became her companion. The bond gave her strength she hadn't known she needed. Days turned into weeks. The mansion tested her with its endless creaks and shadows, but the map led her deeper into its hidden heart. She uncovered journals belonging to her grandmother, filled with lessons on resilience, kindness, and survival. Each entry spoke of trials her grandmother had endured as a young woman, of poverty, betrayal, even fear of losing everything. We are made stronger in the dark, one line read, because that is where we learn to find our own light. Elena began to change. Hunger became endurance. Fear became curiosity. Loneliness turned into a quiet strength, shared with Ash at her side. On the final week, the greatest challenge revealed itself. The map pointed her to the mansion's cellar, a place the villagers whispered was cursed. The air there was damp and cold, the smell of mold so thick it made her gag. But deeper inside, she found a locked chest. Her heart raced up. This was it. With trembling fingers, she slid the old key, found days earlier behind the loose brick, into the lock. Inside the chest were bundles of letters, photographs, and documents, a proof of her grandmother's lifelong work, donations, secret shelters she had funded for struggling families, journals of people she had helped. At the very bottom was a final letter, written just for Elena. "My darling, I know the family will fight for gold. But wealth without wisdom destroys. This house held my greatest lessons, and I chose you because you are strong enough to learn them. You now see what they do not. Fortune is not in money but in legacy, in compassion, in strength of heart. The true inheritance is yours. Use the wealth not to grow richer, but to grow the world kinder." On the 30th day, the gates of Harrow Mansion creaked open. Her relatives were waiting, smirking, ready to watch her crawl out defeated. Instead, Elena walked out with her head held high, Ash trotting at her side, her grandmother's journals cradled in her arms. She had survived her, but more than that, she had understood. The lawyer read the final clause of the will. Elena had not only passed the test, she was now the sole heir to the Harrow fortune. Gasps filled the air, and her cousins' smug faces twisted into shock and rage. But Elena didn't smile for victory over them. She smiled because she had discovered the truth. She was never being punished. She had been guided. The mansion, once a symbol of fear, became her sanctuary. She raced toward it, opening its doors as a refuge for those in need, just as her grandmother had once done in secret. The wealth was used not for greed, but for purpose. And every night, as she walked its halls with Ash at her heels, she whispered a quiet thank you to the woman who had taught her the most important lesson of all. That sometimes, the harshest trials are not curses, but maps leading us home.